G'day guys, welcome back to New Dollarton. So it's been a while since I've released a video. It's actually been a while since I've played City Skylines 2. After the last video, I felt like I just needed a bit of a break. Been playing this game pretty much every week since it was released. So took a bit of a step back, been playing some other games like City Skylines 1 and also SimCity 4, which is a game I've been wanting to dive back in and release some videos about. And I'm glad I took that break because I'm back feeling refreshed, motivated, and inspired. I'm inspired to build a grand central station within New Dimesburg. Something old, something custom, and something maybe connected to a ferry service that goes all the way out to Jenny. Yeah, finally making that connection. And all this I didn't even think was possible until now. We can do a lot, which is exciting, and I know exactly where I want to build it. I'm thinking down here. We already have a train line coming through here. There is a connection. Did I make the tunnel? I don't think it's out there yet, but there is a tunnel. It goes in there. So train line that just snakes its way into this. I reckon there could be a train station that sits right there. This will be the central station of New Dimesburg, so a pretty central spot. The original plan was just to place down the train station, you know, the one the game comes with, but I do also now have a mod that allows me to drag out and place my own train station train tracks, which does give me the possibility to create some sort of custom thing. I don't know if I want to go down that route just yet. Look, I can even do that with the subway. Whew. Okay, so this is what I mean. The game is getting quite interesting. And of course, modders are saving the day as per usual. I mean, just look at this. Oh man, this is really cool. Look at all this. Find it. Grobbles? Can I just place that? Yeah, it's gonna disappear. But man, that is really, really cool. Like, that is exactly what we need. So I am back. I am feeling excited. I don't love the colors, especially coming from SimCity 4, which is just bright and colorful and quirky and fun. Oh man, I can't wait just to show you some of those videos. But for now, we are in Rainyville, and that's fine. So something that I really love about what we're doing here is we have just pushed out all the industry that sat in this area. It no longer fits in a space like this, and it can now be repurposed into something that is going to be more meaningful and useful for the city, rather than having industry so close to the shoreline, which is what industry used to be like within these cities, but all that kind of gets pushed out to other areas. And I've also done something similar over here. We used to have industry that sat on this little dock, and I pushed it all out, I removed it all, and now it is a park, a bit of a wonky shonky park, but it's a park nonetheless. I actually built this, like I said, I started to record an episode, but completely changed my focus, but I do like what this is. Something I just noticed just now is that we also have these containers here, kind of like maybe a nod to what it used to be like. I don't know. Let's see if people actually turn up. Okay, what were we doing again? Oh yeah. Okay, couple of thoughts. First of all, love this retaining wall. I think that we continue doing something like that because that's kind of fun. I like that. I don't like this, and I don't think our trains are going to like that either. That's a little bit too up and down for a train's liking. So I think that's going to be a real challenge trying to clear some of these roads. I think that this can kind of weave its way up into King Street, and that can be one of the main roads that stretches across. And then we'll keep this one too, because I also think that we're going to have this section elevated no matter what. Whereas around here, at least, see you later, we are going to have to get this down to ground level, or at least pretty close, depending on what we do in terms of a custom station. Actually, something we definitely need to do is we need to extend this out, because we definitely won't be able to fit any sort of harbour. Something else I'm trying to work out is I really like the different angle this is on, that it's just like not doing the same thing as New Dimesburg. It is following more Lawrenceville, which is kind of cool, but I sort of wanted to do completely its own thing. So it's kind of following a little bit this grid, but then maybe it kind of goes in a separate weird direction when it actually hits the train station. I am loosely basing this off the Hoboken train station and the one that's in Jersey City, but you know, I think more like the path and the way it kind of looks, and I guess a general idea is sort of similar. But obviously this is way more interesting, way more historical. We can't do anything like this in City Skylines 2. Maybe I could potentially with a custom one. I don't know yet. Okay, well let's just see what we do. I'm going to just place down a train station, and it's pretty big, but this will give us a good idea of how big we need to make whatever we make down here. But something that I think is going to be really difficult to fit in is just figuring out where this hub is going to go, because this is a big boy and it's going to kind of take up a big chunk of the city. If I was just to place it there or place it here, or even just there, it's going to be a bit big as well. Okay, so maybe what does this look like? I'm just going to place it. Oh dear. Oh no. Okay. She's a mess. But I think I can live with buildings not being there. But I need to try and make it work. But for our station, we can actually create something of a grand old station that I think will represent this area way better than something of a modern one. We do have a pretty modern harbor here. We may be able to change that up a little bit. But I want to just show you what I'm going to be doing with Find It and how I think I might be able to create something of a custom station. So I've been just scrolling through and having a look at some of the bits and pieces we can place down, and the industrial ones I think are going to be absolutely perfect, as well as some of these commercial ones too. There's some really great ones that you can actually play around with, especially some of these. These are amazing. And these vehicles too, I mean, this is just so unreal. I love this. And I've just been going through and just favoriting them so that I can come back and just use some of these bits and pieces for this station quite easily. Like, I think that this is going to work really well for a platform. Look at that. This is a signature building. I have not unlocked this yet, but with the power of Move It and the power of Anarchy, I'm going to be placing this down twice. I don't love the fact that I haven't unlocked this yet, but you know what? Stuff it. We're just going to do it anyway. So I'm going to do something like this, and that is going to be our main building for our station. A big old historical station is going to sit right there. But there are a few things that I need to change. First of all, this building is a different color. It's just slightly off. So I might delete that and we'll place that one down again until we get something of the same color. Oh, am I mad? But they're all just like a slightly different tone of this beige, so I'm really kind of going crazy here. I would really love them all just to be exactly the same. Oh, is that pretty close to the first one? Oh, it's just a little bit different. I think that's as close as I can get it, but you know what? I think that's all right. I do wish we had a bit of consistency with these windows up top, but you know what? You can't really change it. If this was City Skylines 1, we'd of course have some, we'd have procedural objects that we could play with, but you know, for now, I think that this is going to work just fine for what we want. I'm going to move this to an area that I think will make a little bit more sense. So I'm just trying to find the best spot for the station. You know, we're going to need a lot of space. I do want there to be multiple platforms and even something of an area where we're going to have a whole bunch of parked trains just kind of waiting to, you know, go on their journeys. Is that enough space? I want to have plenty of space. let's just align that up perfectly to the road so it's nice and even. Spot on. Okay, that looks good. I've also made it so that this road kind of connects up to this main road, King Street, so that we do have easy access for vehicles coming into the station. I don't really plan to connect up these two roads. What I think I need to do now is just see how many platforms we're going to need, and then that'll give us a good idea of the path of the line as it comes in. So we use these double tracks, and I'm gonna do something a little bit more unique here. I think that I would like to see this platform raised up ever so slightly. So I have just made it so that we are just taking the elevation step, just the smallest one possible. And I think I might go up to about, you know what? Let's go a little bit higher. Let's delete that, and we'll go one step higher. And I'm just using the vanilla station just to measure him up, and it looks like I've gone for a pretty similar size, so I'm gonna keep it at that. I'm happy with that. And I also really like how it's raised up. I think that's going to make it just feel a little bit more interesting. So now that we've got a good idea of where some of these stations are gonna sit, I'm gonna drag out the rest of them. We will make sure that they are perfectly aligned up. Come on. Let's connect it up and see if trains are actually gonna stop here. That will be a bummer, wouldn't it? And so the connection to this is gonna be kind of interesting now, I think. We're gonna have to do something of a bit of a straight line, a bit of a kink over here, and then maybe kind of takes that direction. Oh, that's gonna be fun. All right, not pretty, definitely not how it's going to look, but it'll do just for a bit of a time being as we see if this actually works, see what trains look like when they come in and out of here. We're going to connect up pretty much every single platform here. So we'll place down these and an outside connection, which connects up wonderfully. All right, excuse the rain, I'm going to fast forward it in just a moment, but you can see people, they are making their journey over to the train stations, to the platforms. This person's running. Are they late or they're just trying to get out of the rain? I'm not quite sure. But I am seeing trains, which is so wonderful. And they are stopping at the platforms. We do need to assign some more vehicles. I'll do that in just a moment. Now, obviously don't want people getting to the platforms like this. That's just, that's not on. I would love to see people parking over here, getting public transport over here, and then walking through the main entrance. So I think I need to drag out some paths, which I now have. I've got some invisible paths, which is wonderful. I mean, I love seeing stuff like this. This is gonna make the game just so much more interesting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out a couple of invisible paths. It's going to go all the way through the main station. In fact, I would really love to see people walking through here and then kind of like choosing which platform they want to go to like that. Let's see if that works. So we are seeing quite a lot of people using all the different platforms we have down here. I don't know if I can justify all these platforms at this moment. We only really have an outside connection, but I think this is gonna be really cool when we start adding more neighborhoods and towns and just places around the city and around the map that we can start justifying these platforms. But I tell you what, we are seeing quite a lot of people coming in. I mean, we are starving these people for public transport. This is pretty much all they've got. Part of all this was to also connect it up to our harbour and make that connection to Jenny all the way over there. So we've got a lot of work to do, connecting things up and making it look a whole lot better with detail. So I'm going to dive into a time lapse and we're going to detail all this up. I'll do a bit of commentary over the top and talk about the process and what's going on with, you know, how I'm finding this whole thing, because I think this is going to be pretty tricky. There's a lot of things I want to cover up, a lot of things I want to add. Geez, they're almost going through that door. Maybe we had a door there. There's quite a few things we can add. So let's get into it. So this probably could have been 2 episodes. I definitely go a little bit overboard. Just getting into some detail work, just trying to make this custom station work. And I think it comes together pretty nicely, but man, there are a whole bunch of challenges. And I really hope that this is maybe like a good way of getting people back into City Skylines 2, just because it's like, you can do some pretty cool detailing stuff and some custom stuff as well, which I am all about. I loved doing this sort of stuff in City Skylines 1. So I think that's probably why I'm spending so long working on this. But then also there are still some limitations. It's still not perfect. There is still a long ways to go. I think what you can see right now is a good representation of that. I'm trying to make a custom platform because I do want to see the interior of this thing, but this just wasn't working because people are standing on the level of the tracks. It means that they're not going to stand up on this platform, and that's enough for me to go, you know what, let's not do this. And on top of that, we also don't have any copy and paste features with Move It, because in the past, I would just make one platform with all its props, with all its details, and then just copy that bad boy over. And that would be a super easy way of doing it. But with this way, I would have to detail up each and every single platform. And I just think it's probably too much work for right now. We don't really need to do it. Let's wait until Move It has a couple more features and we have some more options when it comes to detailing. So instead, I'm going to be building a custom roof that's going to go over the top. And unfortunately, you're going to be watching just absolute struggle street for all these builds, not just for this roof, which I'm going to be shedding a couple of tears about, and maybe you'll be able to feel that as I try to move these pieces into the right place. Because of course, Move It, it's not quite there yet, it is still in beta version, so there are still some things that need to be ironed out, and we don't have any of the features that we, you know, or any of the filters, or even, you know, select all. I mean, there is actually a select all feature, but I didn't know it existed until way later on in this time lapse. So it's just a bit of a learning curve. I'll eventually get the hang of it, and I'm sure it's going to be updated and improved over time. I complain, but I am honestly just grateful to have Move It in the game in the first place, because all these things that I'm trying to do right now could not be possible. You couldn't even build a custom station, whereas we're able to do that. It's a massive challenge because of the state of how things are at the moment, but it's possible, and I think that this turns out really nice eventually. At the moment, a bit of a headache. So I continue to move pieces and try to make this flat roof. And of course, it does look a bit repetitive because you can see some of the joins in the pieces that we got down here. So I decided just to change it up a little bit by adding in a couple of extra sections. I am just, adding some different pieces here, just a bit more flair. Also trying to change the size of the station too, because I didn't want it to be too large. I only wanted to just cover the trains that are coming in and out of this area, and pretty much just providing shelter for any of the platforms. But I think what I'm really having a hard time with is that because you don't have any of the filters at the moment and you can't select all easily, it means that you can't really just pick up these pieces and, shuffle them around or line them all up. It's very much this manual process, kind of very reminiscent of what it was like when we first got Move It in City Skylines 1. So this is the really tricky part, just making it so that it all fits together, especially using these tiny pieces. Unfortunately though, the pieces get tinier and the headache gets a little worse. Because I was feeling like the roof was looking just a little bit too plain. A lot of just the same colors. I really wanted just a couple of extra little bits and pieces up there. And luckily we do actually have some really nice props that we can place on top of rooftops. Lots of vents and lots of AC units, all different types. And then also a whole bunch of ladders and pipes of all different sizes. This was absolutely perfect. So I went to a separate little patch of grass that was nearby. This would be the area where I'd be dragging out and placing out some of these bits and pieces, and then I could copy them over, or at least drag them over because we don't have copy and paste feature at the moment, and I could then just place them on top of the roof. At least that was the plan. I was also using this tool, this eyedrop tool. I believe it's with the Find It mod. Now this is super powerful. I love the fact that you can just go over to your city and find things that you might want to use, just eyedrop it, and then you've got it within Find It. I mean, how good is that? That is the most amazing tool ever. It really meant that I didn't have to just scroll through and try and find little bits and pieces. I could just go and find them within the city. But anyway, on this patch of grass, I was just placing down all the things that I wanted, mostly these pipes. And this was also before I knew that you could select multiple things with Move It. So I am just going through and selecting each individual piece, which is kind of annoying, but the most annoying part was dragging it over and raising it up and just losing your selection. Again, I don't know why this does this, but I'm sure this is something that will be ironed out eventually with some updates with Move It. But this was kind of driving me crazy because I would just lose my selection. I'd have to go back and select it all over again. And yeah, it was an absolute pain, but we did get there in the end. I did end up placing a whole bunch of bits and pieces on top of this roof. And I know this is coming together fairly quickly within the time lapse, but this was a pretty long process, dragging it all over, placing all these props on top, selecting all these little bits and pieces. Yeah, it took it was a bit of a mission. So when it all just drops to the floor anyway, I couldn't really see the funny side in that, to be honest. And I will unfortunately continue to make that same mistake, just raising up these props within this time lapse, because I just couldn't help myself. I really just wanted to see them in, a little bit more unique areas, in places that I would like to actually see these props, and they will all drop to the ground. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave them down there until I finish the entire station, and then we'll raise them back up and place them where I want them to go, because basically they're dropping whenever I place down, I think, buildings or a network. And I think I'll probably just wait until we have, I don't know, some sort of prop anarchy that allows us to keep props where we actually drag them up to, or maybe we'll just wait until we know exactly where everything is going within the station, all buildings, all networks, and then we can start raising them up into a more permanent location. But for now, they're all dropping to the ground, and it's an absolute bummer. What I'm doing here is I'm adding in the rooftop for the main building of the train station. I really like the fact that we've got the platform roof, and then we've also got the rooftop that is for the main building. And this is part of the stadium, I guess part of a stadium building, and I'm just using the seating side of it, and it works really well. Of course, we do have some seats inside, but we're going to be covering it up with a chimney. Yeah, one single chimney prop. This was like the best I could find. This is the same color as the main building, and that's pretty much the only reason why I'm using this. If there was a wall that I could recolor, then I would use that. Maybe there is a wall that I could recolor, but this does work pretty well. But man, it's a bit of a hassle, especially because I can't change the spacing. You can change the spacing using the prop line tool, but I think because I'm using Find It, and I don't know, maybe someone who's played with this a little bit more can tell me the reasons why this isn't really working in terms of the spacing. So I'm trying to align these up, and it's a little bit tricky, but I am kind of getting into the swing of things. It's definitely hard to try and make the second part of this to cover up the roof from the wall to the roof. That's the really difficult part, but I did get there in the end. We did make a bit of an extension and even a couple of little windows here. You are not seeing the entire picture here. There's a lot going on behind the scenes and a lot of deleted footage, but we got there in the end. And I know that little crease is bothering you between the chimneys. It's bothering me too, but don't worry, I do fix it by, of course, just covering it up with some trees. But I do think this does look pretty cool, and I am just stoked to be able to do this sort of stuff in City Skylines 2. But of course, it does all drop to the ground eventually anyway. And I promise I'll come back and fix it at some point, but there is still too much work to do around here in terms of networks and buildings to be placing down, so let's just focus on that. But I did want to move on to some other detailing side of things. We had the whole front entrance left to do, and I had some plans for a car park and a bit of a grand garden at the front, and then also some industry that I wanted to be attached to this. For this station, I wanted it to feel fairly realistic. I didn't want to just make the most prettiest looking station ever, so we are just building a very average looking car park out the front. I am using the surface painter here, surface painter, surface area. Gotta get used to saying that. But how cool is this? I mean, this is exactly what we need for this game, is just the ability to be able to use this surface area, because this is actually a pretty cool tool. So being able to use it within this context is super fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing some custom ones coming in. I'm also using some car park decals just to create a bit of a custom car park at the front. Again, it's pretty average looking. We've got a real dingy looking fence surrounding it and nothing too crash hot. I do have a couple of little trees just planted around using a bit of an old technique, that bit of a throwback to old City Skylines days where we used to use a bench for a planter for some of these trees. For this though, I am using this industrial prop. I think it's just like a coil wooden thing, but it works pretty well as a bit of a planter. So that's what that is. And I'm doing a similar thing for just a row of bushes that sit along here, but pretty low key detailing stuff. But I tell you what, I always love using bits and pieces like this that are kind of just part of the game, and you just use it in a slightly different context, and it works really well. Sometimes I think it's better to have less tools and less bits and pieces. I think it's good to save a bit of space in your computer rather than downloading 10 different planters for your city. Instead, you just use something that is really versatile or something that comes with the base game. And it's also kind of fun, means that you have to try and challenge yourself to use things that might not be what they're intended for, but that's what you're using it for. I also placed down just a couple of industrial bits and pieces. We've got a container and a bit of a trash pile in the corner. Like I said, I want this to feel kind of realistic and a bit more grungy, because this is a pretty sparkly, clean looking city at the moment. I feel like City Skylines 2 is pretty sparkly, clean looking, so it'd be nice to get some decals in at some point that kind of rough up some of these surfaces. But at the moment, I'm just placing down some industrial bits and pieces, and now I'm just gonna dive right in and place a whole bunch of industry stuff. The ability to just be able to place down extra bits and pieces, even buildings and these surfaces, really just makes a huge difference, because this just would not be able to have the same look without being able to do something like this. I just really wish we had better textures, because man, the concrete just looks all the same. There is just no variation in any of the textures. We either need decals, which will be made by modders and asset creators, or I really just feel like they need to just put a little bit of extra work into the way that the colors look within this game, because that is like one of my major complaints at this stage, is that nothing really looks very textured. I always thought that that was coming later. You know, when I was playing this game in the beta version, I always thought, okay, well maybe they're going to release an update and then it's just going to be the right colors. It hasn't happened yet, so I'm really hoping that something does happen, because even City Skylines 1 just had more texture and more grunge to it, whereas this just feels very squeaky clean. I don't know why. Is it the game engine? Is this the style they're going for? Or is it not finished? I'm not quite sure. What do you guys reckon? Because that is like the major complaint for me at the moment. I placed down a couple of trees just to cover up some imperfections, but then also just to add a bit of greenery to the space. And let's move on from a complaint to an absolute praise. And I think that this is something that doesn't get enough praise. And it's something that I didn't even really notice that much of until I started flying through Move It and just looking at all the different brands and businesses that exist within this game, because there are actually some really great ones, some great names, really cool designs, and then also just a whole range of different props that come with them. And there's actually so many different brands and businesses that I didn't even realize there was even that many of them. And I think that this is actually really great, because I'm someone who, and I'm most probably the odd one out here, but I really like it when we don't have real life brands and businesses. You know, I don't really want McDonald's or KFC or IKEA or Nike, any sort of branding like that within my city. I always like when it's more unique and custom, and you know, everything that you have here is like a parody of what you might find in real life, or something that's like a reference or sort of like it or inspired by it. So when I see this burger shop that is just totally unique and something that somebody within Colossal Order has made up. I love this, and I was about to say I wish we had more of it, but I wish it was a little bit more like front and center of this game, because this is really nice world building, and I think that it could have been more of a feature. So now that I've kind of discovered this, I'm going to be making it more of a feature within my city. So I'm placing down this burger shop, and this burger shop is going to be more plastered around the city. Now I think that we already have these billboards around the place, but I never really noticed them. Do you notice these? I noticed billboards on some of these buildings. Some of them are really weirdly placed, but I think that we need more of this, more places that are like, oh, hey, this is where Fatty Burger is. There's one attached to the central station. There is the factory that's nearby, and there is also the agriculture that feeds into it. Look, you guys know me well enough. You've been watching my channel for a while, if people are still watching at this point. But this stuff is so much fun, and I really wish it was like a little bit more front and center of this game. And maybe the plan is to weave it more into it. Hopefully that's the case, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, I'm going to be weaving it into my city a little bit more. So Fatty Bite, you will see this a bit more throughout this series. I also really wanted to place some sort of transport or entry sign, or just something that was just to sort of say, hey, this is a central station, but couldn't really find anything besides this very generic looking bus sign. I guess it's for the transport within the city, but it didn't really fit. So if you've got any ideas of how I can kind of make this work, please let me know. And anything else in terms of what we're doing down here, because this is not the only time we're going to be working in this area. This is like an area that's definitely going to be a real work in progress. To finish off this area, I just wanted to add in just a little bit more industry. I know we do have quite a bit of industry around here, but it just feels like the sort of area that, you know, just has a bit of extra industry. You know, there was already industry here. We got to kind of keep a little bit of it. Plus, I'm kind of in a bit of a grungy industrial mood at the moment, and I'm probably going to keep on adding bits and pieces like this around the city. And then just filling in some of these blocks with some medium density housing, and then also some row houses. I wanted to get rid of the single family around here because it didn't really feel like it fitted anymore. We need to start expanding out some of these areas so that we just have a little bit more density. But this is all temporary. We're going to come back and redevelop probably all these roads, to be honest. But that's pretty much it. If you have any ideas for things that we can add, let me know. But let's get back into the live play. Still got a lot of things to do. Okay, so definitely didn't get quite as much done as I thought I was going to get done in that time lapse, but I also didn't expect to be detailing up a train station quite as much as I did in all of that. So this is kind of fun, you know, this is very fun and exciting territory that I am currently in, because I really didn't expect this level of detail was even possible in this game at this stage. But I guess that really just shows the power of Find It and Move It, even if they are in a bit of a better stage. I think that this is very exciting. It's also fun to see some trains roll in, although I believe they have 0 passengers and they are delivering 0 passengers because I have somehow disconnected our pathing system. And I'm also curious to see just how well all this infrastructure, which really is not a lot, can handle a somewhat decent volume of people that are going to be streaming into this. So I guess that's a real test to see what happens. Let's see. Now, this is actually kind of good because I do sort of want to re-establish some of these paths, because I would like to make sure that they're going directly through some of these entrances. So rather than just like clipping through the wall, we'll go through here. And you know what? I would really love to see these people walk up the stairs rather than clipping through it. So I don't know, maybe we just do, if I was to switch to a path and just raise it up ever so slightly. And then if I use Move It, and then just kind of did a bit of this. And then that way it's slightly elevated, and maybe we'll actually see people walk up the stairs rather than clipping through the stairs. Oh, okay. This is really tricky because I can't see anything that's in there. So I'm just gonna have to make some guesses. I guess I'm gonna go here, and it kind of gives me a good idea whereabouts these stations are sitting. So I'm just gonna go like that. And I really hope that's connected. Okay, let's just speed through this and we'll just see if people starts to turn up. Oh man, I really hope that works because I don't really want to just have a whole bunch of random networks just all dragged throughout here. And I really hope that it's even possible to even drag any networks through some of these buildings. We don't really know at this stage. I mean, some of these sort of mechanics are a bit of a wait and see. So I guess let's just wait and see. Okay, a train just rolled in. We've got one passenger. Who are you and where are you going? Great. So they've caught the train just to go to the train station. Gabriella, where you going? Where you going, mate? Do it. Go in there. Okay. It's working. Ooh, it's kind of working. It's just really hard to find that node in there. It's a bit tricky when you can't just go through and choose whether or not you are just exclusively selecting the nodes like we could in City Skylines 1 with our old move it, which I kind of miss at the moment because I think we're kind of back at square one, but that's all good. I'm gonna give this network a go. This actually has some decals attached to it and people will use it like a car space as well. So you can actually see it right there. So that's excellent. But of course it's not exactly where I wanted to go. So I think what I'll do is I'll delete these guys and we'll just have to do a bit of a reshuffle. And now the question is, will people park here? All right, no one's parking here. So I think I've got an invisible network somewhere stuck in here, and it means that these parking lots aren't really functioning properly because they're not connecting to Madison Lane. So kind of annoying. I can't delete it either. I've just been watching a bunch of Sully tutorials. Where you going? Yeah, I thought so. They have been really helpful, but I think I'm missing something, or at least it's a little bit outdated, but I've just tried a couple of extra things, so let's just wait and see. But I'm sure you're thinking, $2, look at all these people. They have to walk to your train. I know, it's a little bit miserable down here. We are gonna continue to flesh this out and work on public transport and how people are gonna get to our train station and park here as well. But I do also have another trick up my sleeve, something that I think will work out really well, particularly for the parking. Okay, so what is this? This is a little pathway, a little sheltered pathway. I've just used the elevated one so we can get this shelter on top. And this is going to be a connection to this car park and this car park. It's kind of like the expansion, you know, this is where they have put in this car space that is also serving this harbor. And this is the walkway that gets people to and from the train station as well, which is pretty nice. But let's make this connection. I think that hopefully, if I have done this right, I should be able to just get a pedestrian pathway. Let's maybe turn off some snapping and let's align it straight up here and please make a beauty. And another one. Yes, how's that? And I think I'll do just one more so that people can cross here as well, just in case people are deciding to park at this car space. And that is So nice. Let's see if people actually use it. Hold on. Let's not do that just yet. Let's connect this up to the rest of the network. And then hopefully people will then start to trickle in through a harbor, make the trip out to Jenny, and really use this beginnings of a transport hub. At least the beginnings of it. I decided not to connect it up to an outside connection because I'm going to be treating this more as a long distance ferry service that goes all the way out to Jenny and maybe somewhere else, you know, might connect it to another spot within New Dimesburg. But for now, I'm just going to connect it there and we'll see whether or not people will actually use this as a bit of a transport hub, because at the moment it's looking pretty good, but I don't know how well it's totally functioning. You know, people can't even park here. They've got one door access to our main train station, and I don't know about this. We'll see how it goes. There's still so much more I want to add here, but man, we are definitely running out of time. All right, our very first ferry, it has picked up one passenger. Oh man, that's a lot of infrastructure just for one person. Crash into there. Whoa, it really did crash. Sorry about that. While we wait for some people to actually turn up to our transport hub, let's fix this up. And so I'm turning this into another dock that's going to be sitting along here, and I kind of like that it's now this sharp edge. You can kind of imagine that this would have probably been for larger boats, but then I also think that this has been here for a really long time. I mean, the historicalness of this central station, I feel like they've always had this here. This has been like a bit of a staple of New Dimesburg, and then maybe the ferry service has been upgraded recently because it's definitely more of a newer type of building. But because of this shape, I really like the fact that this is kind of like this sharp edge and is now just a bit more of a dock that's kind of eating into this. However, I do think that this road still needs to be connected over here. I think that's a fairly important one. So I'm going to build a recent edition of this city. I feel like we build so many old things, but let's build something that is a little bit more modern. So we're going to build a bridge. This bridge is going to be connecting up the two areas, and it's pretty much doing what it was doing before, but this time it's actually a bridge, and wonderful. You know, it's kind of interesting. A little bridge that just kind of stretches around here, and I actually think that we need it because this is going to be a pretty busy area. It already is. We do have a lot of industry that still sits around here. We do need to wipe that out and send it elsewhere, but I think that this bridge is going to be really necessary. You can already see some people starting to use it. Maybe we can upgrade it so it's a little bit more interesting, or maybe we just leave it the way it is. So a bit of time has passed, and let's see how things are working. Are people using this? Well, a few people are using this. Of course, we're not at full capacity. I would not expect to see that many people traveling to and from Jenny, but 40 people is alright, and the last one that came in was about 100. In terms of where these people are heading, let's have a little look. So we get a few of them traveling along here. And are they turning right? Are they going towards a train station? No. I didn't connect up this path properly, and now it is fully connected, and a lot of people are making their journey. And look, they're even using this one. Fantastic. Are they using the stairs? Did you just use the stairs? Why is there 4 dogs just all walking in a big group? Okay. Well, that makes me happy just seeing people making that journey across. And a lot of people are going, catching the train into our central station and then going onto our harbour and catching the ferry all the way over to Jenny. So that makes me really, really happy. And it's only just beginning. There's still so much more I want to be doing down here and improving. We've got this whole concreted area that I think that this could be a good spot for potentially a bus station. We could do something in terms of a custom one, or maybe even this is where taxis go. I've also got a bit of an idea of what like another dock could sit over here, and the connection between all of this and New Dimesburg is something else we need to think about. But I did not get to anything in terms of the train yard, which I think is going to be an absolute struggle. So I'm going to save that for another day. If you've got any suggestions on how I can complete this, please let me know. In terms of public transport and connecting this thing up, please hit me up, because I would like to continue working on this and getting it really fleshed out, and also getting back some of those props that have just very sneakily snuck into the ground. So annoying. But we will get there in the end. Hey guys, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode. I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching to the very end. It's been nice to be back, and I'm super keen, of course, and the next episode's pretty much already recorded, and it's a doozy, so look out for that one next week. But until then, guys, have a great week, and a big shout out to my lovely patrons for supporting the channel and making videos like this possible. Bud Causey, David Cornuta, Schwenk, Hung Vu, Liam Henderson, Donglin Lee, Jim Royster, Sam Zeltzer, Barry Blue Boy, Riley Callahan, and Rickso12. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.